to show you some of the features of option D, which calculates wire size for centrally amplified type speaker runs like 100 volt, 70 volt, or 25 volt line. I press D to get into that part of the program, and if I just press enter to scroll through these first few screens, the first question I have to answer is what type of speakers am I working with? Are they 25 volt speakers, 70 volt speakers, or 100 volt speakers? In this example, I'll work with 70 volt speakers, so I press B. Okay. And it assumes that the amplifier is also a 70 volt output, so I'll press enter. This is where I pick the acceptable power loss. Of course, any speaker line is going to have power loss along the wiring, or power lost in the wiring rather. And this is described in two different ways in the industry, either as a dB loss or a % power loss. Up here you have a little chart that helps you cross between the two. So if you were designing for no more than a 3 dB loss, that's close to 50% power loss, 49.88% power loss. So in our example, we'll design for a 3 dB loss. What that means is, worst case, the last speaker on the run will put out 3 dB below its rated output. So if you had a 15 watt horn, 70 volt horn that put out 121 dB at 4 feet, and you design so that you have 50% power loss, you wouldn't get 121 dB at 4 feet, you'd get 118 dB at 4 feet. That would be 50% power loss. So I'll put in 50, enter. And here, just like option C, you put in each speaker and its distance from the previous speaker or from the amplifier. So in this case, we're not looking for Valcom power units, we're looking for wattage. So let's say our first speaker is a 1/4 watt tap. Let's say it's a 5 watt speaker, but we're going to tap it at a 1/4 watt. So we put in 1/4. And we need to put in how far that is from the amplifier. So let's say it's 50 feet from the amplifier. And let's say the second speaker is is tapped at 5 watts, and let's say that's 25 feet from the first speaker. And we can add more speakers here if we want to. Just like in option C, we can press X to enable entry review. So I press X, enter. And there's my two entries. I have one speaker that's a 1/4 watt, 50 feet from the amplifier, and I have speaker number 2, which is 5 watt or tapped at 5 watts, and that's 75 feet from the amplifier or 25 feet from speaker number 1. It tells us here that so far we're up to a requirement of 22 gauge wire. Okay. At this point we could enter more speakers. We could back up to change an entry by pressing B. I'll try that. B, enter, and it says go back to which speaker. Well, I want to go back to speaker number 2, and I'm going to enter speaker number 2 as now instead of 5 watts, I'm going to make it 4 watts and say that it's 60 feet from speaker number 1. Okay, I'm going to press X so I don't see the screen every time. X to discontinue the screen. You see that down here. Okay. Okay, so now we have 2 speakers entered, and we've shown how you can change them here. We've shown how you can review your entries. You can do an auto entry repeat, like if you had the same speaker and distance multiple times, so you could use the auto entry repeat. I'll give you an example of that. Press A, enter. And let's say that we're going to have 10 speakers. They're all going to be tapped at 1 watt, and they're all going to be 50 feet apart. So I just described the first one. It'd be 1 watt, 50 foot spacing, and 10 of those. So now we have 13 speakers, and if we press X to review our entries, there they are. We've added 10 speakers after the initial 2, so up to speaker number 12. The last 10 are all 1 watt speakers, and they're 50 feet from each other. Okay, I'll press enter to get out of the screen. If I press enter, there's a lot more options here. I can print my current data, which gives me a lot of details. I can press 2 to list all wire sizes for this run and the power losses that would result from those wire sizes. I can duplicate the last speaker, so if I wanted to add a 13th speaker that was the same as the 12th, I could do that by pressing 5. I can remove the last speaker. If I want to remove speaker number 12 from the run, I can start over or end. I can evaluate twisting different size wires together. Say I had a requirement of 22 gauge, but I pulled 26, and I want to know how many pairs of 26 I have to twist together to get 22. 9 would tell me that. I can press 1 for more options. I can press 2 to change the amplifier constant voltage. I can press 3 to change any of the entries. I can press 4 to remove a speaker, remove any of the entries. I can press 5 to copy one of the entries, mirror copy it. So if at speaker number 5, if I wanted to have 3 speakers there instead of 1, I could use this to mirror copy it. I can change the tolerable power loss that I'm evaluating, change it back to maybe 10% or 20% or 80%, whatever I want to do. I can press 7 to evaluate a particular wire size. I want to see, what the result would be on 18 gauge. I can use 7 or 8 to end. I'm going to press 8 to end.